book into a movie. But that's not the problem with this one. See, the purists are pissed off, pardon me. The purists are unhappy because there are some lighthearted, kind of smart alecky jokes that got put into this to kind of turn it into a romantic comedy, right? They kind of wanted to turn it into a rom-com, but it wasn't a rom-com. It was a statement about women and domestic violence and all kinds of really heavy issues. When Blake went on the tour to promote this film, she also promoted her hair care line. She also promoted her skincare line and her alcohol brand. Please, people, if you could be so kind, if you could put a 1 in the chat. You know, Eminem, why has this become a gossip channel? Well, actually, it would be a gossip show. I'm on every Thursday, just on Thursdays. The show belongs to the Shaun Atwood program, and it's I don't think he's become a gossip channel. But you know what's great? There's 60 million YouTube channels. So go check out another one, man. You shouldn't have any problem. I'm telling you, they're putting them up like this, about 100,000 an hour or some outlandish number. So I would imagine you could find some people that are digging up all the fun stuff for you. Don't let that door catch you squarely on your butt crack on the way out, though. An interview. The push for alcohol during the making of a film about domestic violence landed a little left of center for most people. See, most people on earth realize that there is a correlation, a disgusting correlation between alcohol and domestic violence. You don't run into a lot of pot smokers that say, I did one too many bong hits and I slapped my kid. But you will meet people that will tell you that they're the salt of the earth, but after one too many martinis, his wife just drove him nuts and he punched her in the face. It's bad form to do a film about domestic violence and promote your friggin' alcohol brand while you're doing the interviews. Follow me. And this started to really bother the audience. Once again, we started by saying, there's this huge book club out there that has been waiting like this for this thing to be made into a movie. And when Baldini bought the script, right? When Baldoni bought the script, it wasn't one of those, I got the money, I'm buying this. They wanted to meet with him. The person that wrote this book wanted to make sure that it became a film that was going to honor the book, that was going to honor women who suffered domestic violence. Wasn't a really great idea to come in and try to take over that film, because no matter what you did that people couldn't see, they could see the end product of the film. They could see the outfits that you were wearing that you spent $650K on. $650,000. The budget was supposed to be like 180 or something. She was over $500,000 over budget to buy herself cool clothing from great designers. Doesn't have anything to do with the script. But she wouldn't know that because she didn't read the script. We're starting to see the level of arrogance. Hold on one second. She didn't read the book. I'm not sure what you're saying, Justine, but that's okay. The amazing thing about this is that once everything started to dive, this was her fan base going, you suck. Sorry, that's exactly what it was. It was the fan base blaming her for the movie being bad, not because of a hit piece campaign put on by the director of the film. But see, as an egomaniac in Hollywood, the premise or the principle or the thought that this is your fault, Blake Lively, they don't like that you started to drop jokes that look like maybe somebody from Deadpool wrote them in the middle of a very serious film. It wasn't supposed to be a romantic comedy. She rewrote parts of this script because most actresses you hire or actors that you hire will rewrite. No, they don't. Right? That doesn't happen unless you're a Hollywood A-lister and you get in there and start throwing your weight around and bring friends with you. say my two best pals wrote what I wrote, and they thought it was great, thought it was funny. You know, Ryan Reynolds and Taylor Swift, my dragons. You probably heard this. She referred to them as her dragons. She was making a reference to the person from Game of Thrones. It was definitely a veiled threat. In the middle of one of their negotiation meetings, she allegedly had Taylor Swift show up in the middle of it. This guy got pressured to make the film the way she wanted it. The film sucks. The audience blamed her, and her numbers tanked. So that PR firm that came in and said, all right, you've had 200 stories written about you, and 150 of them say you're a shrew. 150 of them say you suck. She couldn't sit down and go, yeah, you know, it's one of those really odd, you know, Eminem, you're an asshole. Do me a favor. If you got a wrench, make this person disappear so that I never see them again as long as I live. We have put up, I'm not going to even waste the time. We have put up receipts. We can show you that. I'm not wasting my time. Come back and catch it next time, you jackass. Honestly, too funny. Thank you, Anne-Marie. Every once in a while, you got to have an asshole. It just reminds you of why you have wrenches. Without them, right, there would be you wouldn't be able to say we really do have the best wrenches in all of the business over here on the Outwood program. You like the hat, Anne-Marie? This is I only pull this out when I talk about the diddler or when I talk about the Voldemort, because this is sort of, it embodies the pimp hat trying to go on. You know what I'm saying? It's a representation of that whole climate. Tommy, are we seeing the last of Hollywood narcissists trying to make themselves unaccountable? We're seeing the death throes of people that don't want to give up what they've had for this long. Great example of this is that we tend to think of gay people in Hollywood have had it really tough, right? You have to be closeted and you had to deal with all this stuff. There are, as I've been deep diving Hollywood, there were gay parties that were being thrown in the 50s where they would bring in the best looking dudes in the whole world so that a few, gay Hollywood stars, and I have no problem with this. I mean, I really don't. If you want to have those parties and everybody there is consensual, that's fantastic. But this kind of stuff has been going on behind the scenes forever. They have been living how they want to live, unabated, forever. And now it's like when you see somebody at an award ceremony get up and start talking about Epstein, and you see the horrified looks in the audience. Those people hung out with Epstein. Those people went to his islands, man. The gay people created Hollywood. They most assuredly did. It does look like the hat and the mask. Well done, Jeremy. This was a gift, by the way, from somebody on there. Yes, I have heard about this. There is a TV show on Netflix about the boys in Hollywood. We're watching Hollywood disintegrate. And the only reason it's disintegrating is because of you. And I'm not being funny. For my entire life, I've been alive more than a half a century. For my entire life, it pops up, right? We'll be watching newspapers or whatever. A scandal will pop up. And 4 days later, the scandal goes away. Why? Because the people in Hollywood pay PR firms. If you can't fix my reputation, just get my reputation off the front page. Start talking about everybody else that you can do anything about, but let's change the flippant narrative. Even if we have to bomb Kosovo, let's stop talking about the girl that gave me a you-know-what in the Oval Office. If you can get the newspapers to change the narrative, or if you can scrub the internet, right? It's no longer happening. People aren't looking away. People are demanding answers. Since the last time that I have been here talking about this particular subject matter, we have had 4 new lawsuits that have come out. These lawsuits, we continually see a fairly even distribution, and I'm talking about Diddy, between women and men, boys and girls. He was an equal opportunity S-heir. I have talked on here about how prolific this guy was. If you believe the accusations, how prolific was Shaun Combs? He was S-ing people daily. There is a person who now alleges that right before those 9 people got trampled to death, how long ago was that? The 1980s? This was the celebrity basketball event at the college in New York that Diddy allegedly oversold by a couple of thousand tickets. Now, whether or not that's the truth, of course, he says he did not. He said they didn't oversell that venue. There are other people that say they oversold that venue by at least 2 times what they should have. But he was SAing a person allegedly minutes before that stampede happened. He was obviously very concerned about what has been going on. Now, these are lawsuits that have been filed. There's no getting around them. I'm not making this stuff up. That was an allegation of a recently filed lawsuit. Busby has brought 2 new lawsuits on behalf of 2 women who say that they were picked up at a nightclub and that they were brought to a hotel in Midtown. This would be Trump's International Hotel, the Midtown version. There are several Trump hotels in the island of New York, on Manhattan. This is this is the Midtown one, and these girls obviously were there together. One said that she had been abused by a security guard as well. But those, and I'm bringing that up because that happened since the last time we were here. And the other 2 are men. And one of them, I think, is worth talking about. A lot of these lawsuits blend from one to the next. It just keeps like, we've heard this. It's very much like the last one. It's going to be very much like the next one. He used a chemical. He knocked the person unconscious. He took advantage of them. When it was over, he was lighthearted and laughing at their problems and threatening that, that nothing good's going to happen anyway. In this particular case, it was a street entertainer, 17-year-old, who played the guitar. And somebody went up to him and said, "Hey, Diddy would like to talk to you about some music. He finds people like you all the time and helps them get record contracts." And we get back to the pivotal point of all of this. It's always going to be this way every single time. It will never change. It is that moment where the person in power says, "Here's what I want you to do to me if you want to be successful." This young man got back there and he was offered a shot of vodka. Then he was offered a second shot of vodka, but he had commented on the chain that Diddy was wearing. Now, if we remember from the night that Natanya Rubins took one to the grill, Diddy slid a ring off, tried to hand it to the limo driver. It was an SUV, but to the driver. And he said, "You can hold on to this," because he offered him $50K. "You take the gun. You tell him the pew-pew's yours. I'll give you $50K. Don't trust me? Take this ring. It's worth $300,000. To give you a little perspective about jewelry. So he might have had $500,000 around his neck. But whatever it was probably impressive as hell. And this 17-year-old boy said, "Wow, man, that's a hell of a looking necklace right there, man. That's incredible." And Diddy said, "Would you like to see my collection? I got a ton of jewelry. You're into jewelry? Come check this out." The room he brought him to, as soon as he walked in, he saw no jewelry, no nothing. And then Diddy says to the guy, "Hey, have you ever sucked a man?" I'm sure you can figure out what he said. But have you ever, sucked a D? The dude went, "No, man. No, I didn't. No, I've never done that, man." And Diddy responds to him, "You should, man. Like it, greatest thing on planet Earth. You really need to give that a try." Diddy then grabbed the guy's head and forced his junk into the dude's mouth. 17-year-old boy surrounded by bodyguards, the most powerful dude in music that you could possibly ever hope to meet, is now trying to force you to give him a mouth hug. This is the allegation that has recently been made. But he didn't meet the kid. The kid's a street entertainer. He's out there, he's doing his thing, and a wrangler walks up to him. A human being walks up and says, "Hey, you, come here," right? This person had a mandate. This person I doubt he took it on himself to think, "Ooh, I'll bet you Diddy would be really happy if I found a boy that I could." Diddy obviously said, "Hey, if you see somebody, and this has been alleged that there were people whose job it was to bring him people that he could SA or R word. Does that sound familiar? The 13-year-old girl who alleges that Voldemort and Diddy both SA'd her says that it was a employee of Diddy that said, "You're just what Shaun's looking for. You're just what Diddy's looking for." Same thing with this guy, 17-year-old boy, and somebody who's not KK. I've heard a lot of people online say, "I'll bet you it was KK because of the time that this was going on or whatever." It couldn't have been KK. If you read the actual document, he said a man who worked for Diddy, not a woman. So whoever it was not KRISTINA KHORRAM. But someone that worked for Diddy does the corralling process and brings this guy, this young boy, to Diddy so that Diddy can essay him. And of course, now the guy's life has gone to hell. And this is usually what happens to these people as their lives go to hell. For those of you who are still living in the Cro-Magnon 1900s, why didn't he come forward when he was 17? Well, 17 wasn't that long ago. 17 was 2022, allegedly. Allegedly, this took place in 2022. Do you know what that means, boys and girls? It means that the statutes of limitations is not up on this. Do you understand? The statutes of limitations, I'm just making sure that this isn't, I've got, okay. I was trying to make sure that I'm on all of the news wires, kind of see if any breaking news, anytime that thing vibrates, you start getting a little nervous. I used to be a male model during Fashion Week. There was this aura around his offices when you walk by. I was told to always stay away. Well, thank God that somebody told you that, right? Thank God that somebody told you that, because there are a lot of people that didn't get that memo. Do you remember back when we were first started doing this, folks? Do you remember when we first started talking about it? And there was the producer. It was one of the first cases I ever read to you. There was a producer or a manager, but it was a woman who brought a young man into Shaun Combs' orbit. This is the youngest victim we ever heard of. This was the 9-year-old. And the woman went and took this young boy from his parents and said, I'm going to take him over for some meetings. They used to call those people chicken hawks. She went out and found an underage person so that Shaun Combs could do whatever he did to him. Now, was she complicit? Did she know she was doing that? How does a 9-year-old walk out of something like that not traumatized? It almost makes you scratch your head and say, this can't be real. This can't be real. What did they have to do to smooth that over? Because if you did what allegedly happened to a 9-year-old, that kid didn't walk out and go, yeah, tough audition. I mean, he was abused. He was physically, this is a horrific thing. God help us, man. What a world. Yeah, it was a good agent. Yeah. Well, thank God, man. Honestly, thank God. Court of Public Opinion says, my ex was a musician. They tried to do that partner switching and skanky stuff too. It's crazy. This, by way of defense of people in the music industry, I think that, you know, we've got swingers that are doctors. We've got swingers that are lawyers. We've got people who do wife swapping and all that. And, you know, there's a term called kink shaming. Are you familiar with this, right? People will say to me, don't kink shame, Tommy. If you want to swap your wife off with somebody else, okay, it's your business. I'm not shaming you for it. It makes about as much sense to me as a $3 bill. But whatever, right? If you want to do that with your significant other and it's consenting, you've got nothing. You absolutely go and have a good time in your consenting. We're not talking about any of those things. We're talking about a man that wouldn't have enjoyed it if the people wanted to consent. Do you understand this? Please tell me. Put a 2 in the chat if I'm not confusing you. People that R-word other people aren't doing it for the reason that you're having sex with somebody that you care about. Or somebody that you met at a bar that you don't care about, but you'd kind of like to have sex with. That's not the same motivation. We, as human beings, are ignorant of this subject, and that's probably a good thing, right? It means your brain doesn't work this way. But what happens is they're not sitting there. We attribute what we know of sex to the R-wordist, the grapist. We think about it in our terms. So we must think, right? This guy must look at it and go, ooh, I really want to have sex with that person, but I doubt they'll have sex with me because I'm a billionaire and the whole world knows who I am. I'm really famous. I doubt this person will have sex with me. There's a pretty good chance if you were him, you could probably just get the person to say yes. I believe, and I think that time and science and doctors and everything will bear this out. What this man gets off on is getting someone to do something they don't want to do. Why is it that while he's in the middle of essaying somebody, he needs to grab someone that didn't have any desire to be involved in this and say, you, get in here and do this? It's because he's getting the 2-for-1. He's getting to be that person who's forcing this girl to do something that she doesn't want to do. And then he gets to force a man who's there to go against something he doesn't want to do also. I think for this control freak, and R is always about control. SA is always about control. It's not about somebody that just, because you'll hear people go, doesn't make sense. What, the guy couldn't get laid with $1 billion? He had to go do that. Of course he could get laid. Of course he could find somebody. That's not what he wants. Some people call it psychic vampirism. Some people, call it, there's a word that if I say on here, we're going to get demonetized. But there are people out there that literally suck energy from you. And there's a word for that energy. You guys know what it is. It starts with an A. But there are people that believe that what he's doing is a form of psychic vampirism, that he's bringing these people in and he is stealing anything positive.